Harold Dutton, who goes by the name of Drag Hag, or at least that's the cars that you guys may know. And we're going to talk about his history. I'll ask him a little bit, and he's just going to start going. And I don't know where this interview is going to go, but this is history. I'd talk to you, and I got to talk slow because Harold, how old are you, Harold?
A few weeks, I'll be 91.
91? Jesus. I was thinking you were like 65.
I wish.
So he's 91. Now, he raced, I'll tell you the cars that I know, and he's going to fill in the gaps. But he had the Drag Hag Mercury Capri, a 73 Mercury Capri that ran a Boss 429. And when he brought it out, he freaking went like 173 miles an hour when all the other boys were doing 155. And old Grumpy got pissed and went up and said to NHRA, that guy can't race that. And they disqualified it because he had a handbrake. In order to fit the Boss 429, he had to have a handbrake. We're going to stop there. I'll let you take it from there. When did you start racing, or how did you start all this, Harold?
All right. Hi, guys, gals, and all you friends and enemies. I started right after I got out of Uncle Sam's army. I first went out with old school, a 39 Ford Coupe, which immediately realized it wasn't fast enough to do any winning. And I, the next year, bought a new 57 Ford with the 312 engine, which I ran with great success up a 61 Starliner with a 390 hypo, which we ran only in the mid-season, and they came available then with the 3.2s and the 4-speed, which we converted. Following car was the 61 lightweight 427, which it had all the lightweight components, buffers, front end doors, all that from the factory. Then went with the lightweight 64 with the 427, then it came through with the high riser. And next, 67 427 Fairlane, which with that car, we set the record 6 times, the national NHRA record 6 times with the Fairlane, and I won Division II championships with it. Had a real embarrassment the next year, but everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah, we do.
I got one. In fact, we went into Detroit, helped build them right out in the old Hearst shop. One of the Hemi Barracudas. I lost my mind and went over Mopar because I'd had a little different words with somebody at Ford, but that's another story. I ran that car one season, and that was enough for me.
The Hemi car, you're saying?
I had done some department head changes at Ford, and I went back over, and Ford took me back into the fold that year, and I ran 2 cars. I ran fastback with 428 for NHRA. In the time AHRA existed, and I ran a fastback with a 427 tunnel port in it, and had quite a bit of success. We kind of dropped away running the national scene. We realized that wasn't where the money was. We'd run it outlaw and cabbage patch tracks and had a lot more fun and made a lot more money. Let me see. Then the 429 Boss Maverick, which was the first Boss carbureted, despite what people might tell you, I had the first one. In fact, I won the first NHRA division points race that year with the Maverick Boss car. And Yeah, after that, it was, of course, that was a wild handling car. That gave me some gray hair. But anyway,
What, the Maverick?
the Maverick was modified the front end on it and wasn't up on a lot of that steering work. And it handled like a drunk mosquito, but it was a good show car, and I won a lot of money with it.
Yep.
I've gone through so many cars, it's hard to remember some of them. But anyway, along the way there, I built the Mercury Capri,
Yep.
which I wound up running outlaw with it. And oh, man, had a lot of fun with it.
Now, what they do, they disqualified you because it had a handbrake, right?
Yeah. See, I had gone and talked to the tech man at NHRA,
Yep.
and the rules were then that it had to be an American built car.
Okay.
Well, Capri at that time, up until '64, the car was built in Germany, but at a Ford plant. And it had a little Ford blue oval in the step, the door, like all your Fords had.
Yep.
And I asked them about it, and they said, okay. They assumed that, yes, that I was going to run a Cleveland. They couldn't find any other reason. They were trying to tell me that it wasn't going to be, it wasn't safe. And when we built that car, we didn't understand the complete tube chassis. And it was complete tube, but we had the tube chassis inside the car rather than like they built them later on.
Let me ask you this. So the story I heard was, when you ran that car, you went 175 when like Grumpy and all the other guys maybe were doing 155, and they kind of got pissed about that. Now that was the first tube chassis car, really, because in '74, Grumpy came out with the first, they said.
Grumpy gets credit for having the first tube car, but that was at the Gatornationals.
Okay.
And of course, I had been entered 3 months before. And at that time, the Mopar, of course, to get back into politics, all the NHRA people had NASCAR vehicles they were driving, if you could read between the lines. I showed up at Gainesville with the car, and they were running in there around 152, 155. And I made one pass, and back then, when you went in the pro stocks at the event, like I said, it was a Gatornationals. You had a card. You could go up and run. You didn't have to stand in line and hold up your hand like a first grader. You go up and run whenever you wanted to for a qualifying run. You had 4 passes. They would punch your card every time you went up to make a run.
Right.
Well, I went up and made a run. Nobody paid much attention to it. I went back and put on my new tires, my fresh spark plugs, and went out there and I ran 172 miles an hour. When I came back up the return road, it was like Chinese officers meeting. Everybody coming down through there had about 6 to 8 arms, and and they went over this and the other. And to show you politics, they told me it wasn't safe to run pro stock, but to run a modified production with it. That's the story. So they it went round and round. And of course, that Boss engine was so big in there with the scatter shield and everything. I only had room for 2 pedals, the clutch and the accelerator, and I had a handbrake. Well, that handbrake wasn't safe. You can't run. So we wound up running mostly outlaw with that car, which was a good running car, a lot of fun, $1 or 2 here and there,
Well, just think about it. The top fuel cars back then, a lot of those cars had handbrakes,
Sure. But this was different. This was a Ford.
Exactly.
Well, there you go, guys. The history from the man himself, Harold Dutton, the drag hag. A big shout out goes to Rick Hicks and also his son Cole Hicks, who are friends with Harold Dutton and introduced me to him. So that's a little bit of a video history of his cars so I could match it up with what he was talking about. This is one of his last race cars, 78 Pro Stock Mustang II. It has a 460. Originally, I think he said it had a fuel injected engine. Now has a 460 with police interceptor heads, I believe. The car runs in the nines, and they bought it from Harold and have raced it a few times after they did some restoration. Richard Hicks is still restoring the drag hags. Hopefully that gets done soon and we can get some updated video on that. So at the end of this video is a great story about a lead pipe. You got to listen to it. I'll try to get Harold back on for another live chat because he says he has so many other stories he'd like to tell. Most of the people are dead, so he said he could tell us stories, but I think it'd be amazing to have in the archives at DragBoss Garage. So stay tuned, because like I always say, you never know what you're going to see or learn at DragBoss Garage.
Someone asked you, Harold, best day ever at drag racing. This is what you replied. Anytime I won, I didn't tear up anything and left the drag strip without getting into a fist fight.
That's about the size of it. That's about the size of it, bud.
Nice. So you didn't have any issue if you had to put someone down a little bit.
Well, I had a lot of trouble with people leaning in on my car. I had a friend, or acquaintance, that called me out of New York. He said, I was down in Dothan, Alabama that day. You knocked a guy in the head for leaning on your paint job with a lead pipe. That was one. We had a drunk with up in Ringgold, Georgia. Same thing, brand new race car, brand new paint job.
Yeah.
Just come out the paint shop that day, and he over there leaning on my car. I told him get off. He made fun. I knocked him in the head with a lead pipe. Guy up in Dallas, Georgia, he was about 6'4" and told me what he was going to do to me. I knocked him in the head with a lead pipe and got banned for a year for up there. So that's just a few of it. That's why people said that it wasn't fist fight, and I always wasn't big enough to fist fight.
Well, how big are you?
Do what?
How tall are you?
Oh, I was 5'11", but hell, I weighed about 130 pounds. You can't run up against a 230-pound man with your fist. You got to have an equalizer, you know?
There it is. I got that right.
But I met some fabulous, fabulous people in all my traveling with the car, and some of them today still call me. Of course, a lot of them dead. Makes me nervous, all of them dying around me, but I'm still taking vitamins and talking trash.
There it is, man. 91 years old. That's what keeps you going. You still got that lead pipe?
Yes, I do.
Nice.
My AR-15.
There it is. Can't beat that.
But you know, I made a lot of friends out there, and fans, and I appreciated all of them. And of course, you know, in years past, there was a lot of fighting going on drag strips. You couldn't get by with it today. But, you know, when you had competitors of another brand, some of them decide they wanted to work on you. And I never did like the idea of getting my head skinned, you know.
Hell no, I wouldn't either.